everyone again. Here we are with another White Dwarf. This is, as you'll notice, the 1986. No, it's not. The 1991. No, the 1996. What am I talking about? Brain fog. 1996 issue, not the 1986 or the 1991 issue. Normally we start with the older ones. This time we're going to start with the newer one because next week is really close to Christmas, and this one doesn't have any festive content at all. So we're going to go with the ones that have festive. Oh, come on, brain. What's wrong with you? We're going to go with the ones that have festive content next week instead. In the meantime, I'm going to have to do some clearing of my deck for us to do this. So you can see down here, I'm working on dungeon tidy things. If you're playing through Mount Silence at the moment, our advent calendar, you'll know that dungeon tiles are in, and I'm working on something for the new year here. So I'm going to have to clear this lot away, and then we'll get started. Okay, here we go. White Dwarf 204, December 1996. Get the year right this time. 1996, last issue of 1996. As I have said, not a very festive issue, but nevertheless, it is what we are looking at. Here is a new advanced preview of, I hope you can see it's a bit shiny. It's the problem with doing this under artificial light rather than daylight. It's all a bit shiny. And these are lovely glossy pages in this White Dwarf. Here's the advanced previews of the new Epic system that's coming very shortly. So these mid-90s White Dwarfs soon to be inundated with Epic 40,000 content. And as you'll see from the cover of this issue, there's a new magic system. So that may frustrate people who had only very recently bought the arcane magic. It seems like that only came out maybe 6 months ago, and already there's a new one. Shadow of the Horned Rat comes to Sony PlayStation. Here it is, the escape of Warhammer Magic. Rick Priestley talking about how release schedules don't mean much at White Dwarf or at Games Workshop at this time. I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure people are planning very carefully, but maybe things shoot past deadlines. Maybe things are ready earlier than expected if testing goes well. Maybe things are not ready in time. But this is Warhammer Magic coming out for 5th edition quite soon after 5th edition is launched, and as I say, not too long after Arcane Magic updated all of the contents from the original Battle Magic. But Rick is very keen to say that if you already have Battle Magic, you don't need to rush out and get this one. Most of the contents are the same. They have updated some items, but not all of them by any stretch of the imagination. The rest are still perfectly valid, and the ones that are updated, most of them are noted in this article, but they have slightly reworked the way that things work to try and balance it out, as well as to bring in the Bretonnian and Lizardmen spells as well. There's some advance notice of some more campaign packs that are coming out. These mid-90s campaigns, very much in the spirit of the Orcs Drift, Lichmaster, the Riding, Macbeth campaigns that came out for 2nd edition, but new packs with card terrain coming for 5th edition. Andy Chambers updates us on his Piscina 4 campaign. You may remember in a previous issue he was investigating, drawing a narrative together around a few battles that had been played, and using that to decide what battles they were going to play next. Well, here are the next battles in his campaign, along with some more photos of his hex-based gaming table with some very fetching looking fences and a nice bunker defense silo going on in the middle there. Because it's Bretonnia, we revisit the Lance and the Arrowhead. Well, in fact, they're new for 5th edition. These are new formations that Bretonnians can take that nobody else can take in 5th edition, but I say revisit because the the Lance formation was very much in 3rd edition. It was one of the formations that you could adopt. That was dropped for 4th, back for 5th, but only for the Bretonnians, and the Arrowhead being very much the same for the bowmen to allow more models to fire. Here we have a look at the history, more anti-chambers, but the history of the Plague Marines, the Death Guard, and some new models for them. Although personally, I think that the plastic Death Guard is definitely the best of the Marines, but it's lovely, gribbly Chaos Marines. I think if I was ever going to do any Chaos Space Marines, I'd probably do the Nurgly ones. The Death Guard ones are a lot more fun than the rest. Here's the Wrath of, I don't know how to say this, Slaxlan? Don't know. Aztec people. People who speak Aztec, tell me how to pronounce this. If that's even, it's not even a word, is it? Timus Perinen talks us about a conflict between the Bretonnians and the Lizardmen in northern Lustria. If you ever wondered why the Bretonnians and the Lizardmen were put together in the 5th edition pack, not seeming like a very natural pairing, well, here's a reason. Here's a campaign that gives you a reason that those two are fighting together, along with some backstory. And what's really nice is that they've pointed this up so that the sides, albeit allocating a model as a character model, they're just the sides from the Warhammer box. So you can play these straight out of the box. You can play this campaign, which is nice. They've obviously got the Metal Command models in here as well, but it's nice to see that the plastic's very much in evidence. And here's the character that they've upgraded to be Marcel of Paravon. It's just one of the plastic knights from the box, so you don't need any extras to play that. Back in the world of Necromunda, 40k, we are looking at Spirers. So you've seen Spirers in a previous issue. I get the distinct impression from this article that Spire gangs have been doing pretty well. Spire Hunter gangs have been doing pretty well. So this gives other gangs a way to take them out. Basically, the Spire gang is sleeping. It's dormant. Their suits are updating. And so the other gangs have a chance to sneak in, but they have to avoid these defenses, these defense systems. And here are some of Adrian Wood's converted defense marker counters scattered throughout. There's one for each of the Spirers, and so if you can avoid tripping the sensors, you can take out those pesky Spirers, but of course it's not quite simple as all of that. Here's the cardstock, or here was the cardstock. There you go, it's long gone. Here are some photos of Games Day 96. Of everybody looking extremely mad. Some Warhammer Ahoy going on. We did that for Bring Out Yellowed a few years ago, not using these rules. I don't know what they were using here, but Warhammer Sea Battles. This stuff, I wish this stuff was still in Warhammer World. I'd have loved to have seen their big orc, the Tyrannid head they had, and the Chaos Space Marines and the Space Wolves that they had, and all of these 40k weapons. There are a couple of helmets left at Warhammer World, but not a lot of their sort of full size stuff, which is a shame. And look at this very fancy Bretonnian display here, the Battle of Antok Plains, where all of the stores contributed a whole host of figures to build this massive great thing. Unfortunately, you don't get to. You only get this page on it. There's not an in-depth look at all of the things that are going on, but there's lots to spot in the corners of these various photographs. Here's an account of Games Day by one of their injection molding machines. It's an interesting take, I suppose. There you go. But yes, at this point they had the injection molding machines at Games Day, and they were churning out sprues and giving free plastics to people, which is a nice thing to be able to do. Ian Pickstock is taking over Heavy Metal for a few issues and looking at painting tanks, modelling, assembling and painting tanks. So here's his very basic guide to dry brushing, but he puts a lot of layers, he dry brushes a lot of layers onto them, along with some examples of Ali Morrison and Mark Bedford's very lovely weathered, more realistic looking, I guess, model tanks than some of the Heavy Metal stuff. Here's an account by Paul Whitaker of what he did at the Grand Warhammer tournament. A bit of a discussion as to how he got on, what he learnt, what they've learned about running the tournament for next year, and who won, of course. Q&A. More Bretonnian releases. The Merry Men of Bergerac, of course, Robin Hood and Little John and Friar Tuck reimagined for a sort of pseudo-French chivalric fantasy, along with the story of Bertrand the Brigand. The should have been a nobleman but was dethroned or refused the throne for his valour in defending a realm that their own prince would not defend. So it has definite traces of the Robin Hood story, but with a slightly different twist on it. Other things dragged in, as with all things Games Workshop. It's a bit of a mishmash of different myths and legends and stories pulled together. And when you've made your nice tanks, dry brush them the Ian Pickstock way, why not discuss how to get rid of them? Here's something for your opponent to pour over, so that when you have got your nice shiny tanks on the battlefield, they know how to get rid of them. Bit of Warhammer Quest here, visiting all of the game systems of the time. In this case, we're looking at designing specific dungeons. So we've looked at how to make a dungeon feel interesting by limiting the monsters and encounters that you put in it. Here's one about sort of theming the dungeon itself, and here's one of those tiles that has come out of the middle here. This big tile here, along with the warpstone counters that go with it, and this one very likely the Skaven Warhammer Quest expansion that never got released. We've had the board tiles from the Chaos Dwarf one that never got released, and you've probably seen the Skaven mechanic model that it's suggested might have been part of this pack, but here are a couple more. This one and the warp fire generator, which I think we've seen in a previous issue. I forget whether we've seen them or not. I think we have in a recent issue. Were probable tiles from that expansion that never got released. But here we're looking at pulling out details from the dungeon tiles, looking at the artwork, pulling out little things that feature them, and trying to work out special rules for using them, or ideas for scenarios around using those rooms based on what's on them. And it's something that I'm very much trying to do with my dungeon tiles that I'm producing here. I'm trying to make sure that they've got lots of lying around discarded packs and weapons and things, so that the tiles themselves tell a bit of a story that will hopefully inspire some adventures and give them a bit more replayability. In case you can't remember what White Dwarf has covered in recent issues, here is the Index Astartes, looking at 40k-ish themed articles that have been in recent issues of White Dwarf, and there will be a fantasy one forthcoming very soon. And then here we have a Bretonnian battle report facing the High Elves. Very much noble battle going on here. But you can see the Bretonnian forces quite heavily outnumbering there. The High Elf forces, evidently, you get an awful lot more knights than you get silver helms in a High Elf army, although they've taken more magic on the silver helm, on the High Elf front. And things go pretty well for both sides, or pretty badly for both sides, if you like, both scoring 8 points by the end of the game. And then a bit of a debrief. And we reach the mail order pages with all the lovely stuff that you could have been getting for Christmas this year. I don't think I got any of this stuff for Christmas. This was not much of my thing in this issue. And those Bretonnian releases, lots of Bretonnian releases, lots of which back, I think, fairly recently as part of the Old World. Are they these ones, or are they the later 6th edition knights? I forget what they're releasing for Old World at the moment. I don't think they're bringing these plastic knights and bowmen back, are they? I think they're gone. I had one of these silver helms. I think I had this one with the sort of Mohican plume. I've never really taken that much with the high elves. But there you go. And then here's a lovely shot on the top here. I'm going to try and zoom in on this shot so you can see a bit more clearly. Here we have some orcs on top of a cliff looking down on a Kislev or Empire column with these Kislev riders here. And these carts, which I don't remember seeing released. Are they older edition carts, or are they... they wouldn't be other manufacturer carts at this point. I wouldn't have thought they must have been. They must be older issue Citadel carts. Anyhow, it's just a nice setup, having a different angle from the usual front on that we get. And I bet this was quite fun to set up and shoot. They've got a good depth of field. This lot is all quite nicely in focus, and these orcs that are a lot closer, only very slightly blurry. So yeah, got a good depth of field on the camera there, much better than mine. There we go. Okay, so next week we shall be looking at 86 and 91, which will be, as I said, a bit more festive. So I look forward to joining you then. Take care. See you again.